Okay, guys, hey. So there's been some confusion within the inauguration and the presidential election, which hasn't even started yet. But I'm pretty sure we can determine that the election has started because let's see, Donald Trump had recently been booted out of office, and now we're up against the choices to choose between Biden Harris, or should I just say Biden, and Donald Trump. But I can't say Donald Trump and Biden anymore because they say that Donald Trump has been booted out of office. So, what's really, really interesting and funny is that people were voting for Donald Trump and they were also voting for Hillary. Okay, so you have Donald Trump and then you have Hillary Clinton. So we all know that most of the Republicans wanted Donald Trump and most of the Democrats wanted Hillary Clinton. Well, the Republican Party won, and Donald Trump actually took the lead of President of the United States, and Hillary Clinton eventually just went off and done her own thing. Um, and what I wanted to mention is that now people are confused because it was Donald Trump being supported by Republicans, and then they were changing their mind because they didn't like some of the, things that he was doing, which they felt as if the Republicans felt as if he was breaking codes and certain rules that they were used to following. Now you have the Democrats who was and what's funny is that yes, some Republicans were voting for Democrats, but the Democrats were voting for the for actually Joe Biden now because after Donald Trump had exposed so much of his ways that others did not approve of. Now people were like, okay, you know what? I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. And then some people was like, no, I don't know who to vote for now. Okay, I was voting for Donald Trump because he was supporting a certain group of people, and now I wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is just another Hillary Clinton supporting the same type of um, party. And now I'm confused and I don't know what to vote for, and I'm so outraged, but what can you do other than sit there and pout, other than try to make a difference by joining a political party. You can join a political party. You can't be a terrorist because, it would just make you look pretty much, you would get nowhere. You're going to be found, you're going to be dealt with the moment you decide to become a terrorist. You can't even joke about being a terrorist um, without, having someone, over your shoulders 24/7. So yeah, it doesn't look too good for people. It never turns out too good for people who are terrorists. Um, so yeah, just making sure you guys, really understand that. So now people are confused, and I'm saying for myself, why are people so confused when okay, we all knew who Donald Trump was from television, okay? Everyone knew who Donald Trump was, but no one knew that he was going to be running for president. That surprised everyone. It surprised me, and that's how you know that that's entertainment for you. So if you're not entertained by that, if you don't think that's funny, then if you don't think that that's something to laugh at, then I wouldn't take things so seriously, guys, because trust and believe. If you want to make a difference like Donald Trump have, then you can also, leave the job that you're doing and become something totally else different. Just like I said, if you wanted your dreams to become reality, you work towards it. He was secretly working towards that dream. Um, but time would tell, you know. But back to what I was saying, it was Donald Trump being well known, and now they were voting against him. They had an option to vote for Donald Trump, and then they were up against Joe Biden, who no one has ever seen before. But they were willing to vote for someone they had no idea what his background was and who he was. You know, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Joe Biden did not no one knew him, because I'm going to be honest. I didn't know him. I didn't even recognize him. Maybe I saw him in the media somewhere else before and just didn't recognize him, but I had no clue who Joe Biden was. And so it was like, okay, I'm up against voting for Donald Trump because I know who he is, but I didn't know that he was going to be running for president. And then I'm up against somebody who I'd never seen before. And now I need to make a decision between someone who is destroying the country. So they say he's destroying the country. They said that Donald Trump was destroying the country. So now I need to vote for. I can need to choose between someone who I can see is destroying the country versus someone that I don't even know and have no idea what his plans are. And I'm trying to be honest, and I'm going to be as honest as I can, but I just don't see why, people won't find that amusing. Um, because, well, I can actually see why people don't find it amusing. And that's only because, they feel as if the president, controls their life. And that's one of the things that people should be reminded, not to make fun of, but remind people that they are being influenced by someone who really doesn't have that much control over their life. Now, I know it may sound you know, um, out of the ordinary for me to say this, but I can see how people would say, well, this is going to be the president, and I need to make a voting decision right now, because if not, anything could happen to the amount of people who don't pay attention to the president about what the president is doing. And I'm not going to say that people, are, people, aren't intelligent, and aren't smart about, the ways of the world, but I do want to say that when I was voting for the presidents, I stopped voting for almost 10 years now. I haven't voted in almost 10 years, and I think it was longer than that. But the last time I really paid attention to the votes and who would be president is when Barack Obama became in office. Other than that, I didn't pay attention to anyone, because there is just no way that you can promise someone for an increase in pay and then you get nothing and you're still being taxed. There's just no way that you can promise people housing and housing authority, and then here I am being single and I'm trying to get in housing and there's a waiting list and people who with children qualify before I do. Which is nothing wrong with that, but what about people who work and know how to pay their rent on time enough, who've never been in any trouble in their life, who never had been to jail, haven't done anything wrong, and why should that person not be the first one accepted into housing authority to have a place to live? There's no way I'm going to continue to vote, and so I just stopped voting. Um, so it came to the point to where I had to make a decision, and I just stopped relying on the president to determine whether I save the money that I make. Um, the places that I go to find some place to live that's affordable for me, because it's like they promise so much, but I mean, what has been done, other than a system repeating itself over and over and over again? So I decided to leave a system that wanted to do that and um, repeat my own habits and my own goals over and over again, and try to live the life the best way that I could, because there was no way that I was going to vote again and knowing that the jobs paid very little, and they were not going to increase our pay, and if they did, it was 25 cents, but we were still taxed, which made it back down to where we first began to be paid the amount of, and that made completely no sense to me. So I stopped voting almost 10 years ago, and people are just confused, and is now people are really starting to wake up and realize that you are in control of your own life. So whether it is a president or not, you are the one in control. Now, I don't put anyone down for putting their faith in the president, because that was just mind control, and they took advantage of people's minds by allowing them to believe that if you don't vote, then you don't care about your future within this country, or how can you have a say so about your finances or your home, and you don't even vote, and you're not having a voice. Well, I feel as if the system has confused everyone, because they made us feel like we needed them, and then they made us feel like we didn't need them. So it's almost like, I would hate to use this word, but it was almost like rape. It was just almost like rape a little bit. Um, we're going to do you right, and we're going to do you the way that we want to, because you have to abide by us. Oh, but this is a free country. Do whatever you want. Oh, but if you do this, then you're going to suffer. And then reality, it's that they just make the rules as they go, or they just don't follow behind the rules that they've designed. And there's been a lot of blackmail and a lot of promises that haven't been made, and people's been getting their hopes up, and some people are just like, oh, forget this, I'm just gonna you know pay my taxes and work, and everything else I can do by myself. Oh, and then some people are like, well, you know I'm not going to pay my taxes, and if I don't pay my taxes, then I'm going to be in trouble by the government, and I need to vote, or I need to go vote. And whenever they ask me, you know do I pay taxes, or have I paid my taxes this year? I'm like, oh my gosh, should I fill in this bubble or not? But why? What are the consequences if I tell them that I haven't voted? Or what are the consequences if I tell them that, excuse me, not voted, but what are the consequences if I fill in this bubble that, no, I haven't filed my taxes? Are the government coming after me? You see, it's almost like they put fear in you, but nothing happened. So it was almost like, they manipulated our minds and made us feel like we had to fear them for something to happen as a consequence. And some things, didn't happen. So it was a little bit weird. And I just, I can feel why people are confused. And this is another reason why I left the system. And, we are still pretty much utilizing the system in a way, because of resources like social media. That's pretty much like the system. You have to abide by their rules and regulations too to use the platform. Things like that. It's like you're still abiding by the system, but so much as freedom is just like, it's a little bit shaky. And some people have left their 9 to 5 job because it was a lot of that, and a lot of people stopped voting because it was a lot of promises not being fulfilled, and people relied on their home banks instead of an actual bank, because a bank that charges you to save your money, and if you don't put anything in within that month, then it's going to take a certain amount of dollars out your account. And I'm like, that defeats the whole purpose of saving. Oh, if it's under $500, we're going to take out some money. I'm like, okay. But what about me? Just it was just crazy. I mean, but if it's over $500, then we won't take anything out. Okay, it took me a lot to get this first $500. So I mean, okay, anything could happen. So it's almost like you have to take your money out, but you can't really trust the banks now. It's like people don't trust banks anymore. They want to trust, um, prepaid debit cards, or sometimes people don't even trust a prepaid debit card because they take more out of that than they do in the actual bank, and it's just confusing. And people just, it's almost like I can see why people were confused about the ways of the world, about, what was going on, about the promises that was being made, because they were given two different answers and two different, not many solutions, but they did get solutions. And they put fear in your heart, in your mind, and make you feel like, this is going to happen to you if you don't abide by this. But even their chastising aren't being fulfilled sometimes, and sometimes they are, and you're like, well, why did I get chastised for this? What did I do wrong? And then sometimes you're like, well, I just broke this rule, nothing happened. You're like, well, are we still abiding by the law anymore? And it's confusing people. And so I can really truly understand that. Now with the inauguration, it's been a little bit weird, because they're like, Donald Trump has been impeached 3 times or 2 times, and now we're hearing that Donald Trump has been booted out of office, and now they're like, well, who is the president of the United States of America? And it's really, really funny. Um, I'm like, okay, that is a good question. Who is the president of the United States of America? And then I thought about that, and I'm like, we will find out who the next president of the United States of America will be. So I always thought, I said, well, what about, Joe Biden? A lot of people are saying that Joe Biden, excuse me, a lot of people are saying that Joe Biden will not be the president, and some people are saying that, Kamala Harris is going to switch roles, and she's going to be the president, and Joe Biden is just going to be somewhere else, or maybe, the vice president. But now they're saying that Kamala Harris is the vice president, and Joe Biden is just going to be the president. But I really, really feel as if some roles have been changed. Like, some roles are being changed, and we don't even realize it, because it's like a movie being played in front of us. Like, everything is like an act. Like, are people really putting their time and effort into voting? Yes, they are. And when people start to wake up, they will say that, this voting mess is not even that necessary, to a certain extent, because we all do need leaders to look up to. We have children, for God's sakes, but really, a good example in front of you should be motivating enough for you to look at yourself and say, hey, I can do that too. um, but a lot of things that are within politics have not been fulfilled, and people continue to vote. And I just, I haven't voted in over 10 years, because my biggest concern was pay at work. There's no way that you can promise us $15 an hour, $20 an hour, and I'm still here at $8 or $10 an hour. I just didn't. And then some of the things that I found was very confusing was, um, the taxes. They would have taxes over top of taxes over top of taxes. And what's the use of saying that we can receive $10 an hour if you're going to be taking out taxes and it's going to be $8 an hour? So just go ahead and tell us $6 an hour. Go ahead and tell us $8 an hour, because $10 an hour is not going to be the main goal. It's not going to be the final decision, of whenever we decide to get paid, or whenever we actually see our paycheck. That's not going to be our final number. Our final number is going to be after we're taxed, which is completely sad, because remember, you're taxed even after you receive that. And when you cash your check, or if it's not direct deposit, it's going to be taxed. Or when you go to the store and buy something with your money, you're still going to be taxed. So you're not really getting your full amount of pay. This is why I said that the system has controlled people's minds by allowing them and making them believe, well, no one can make you, but you can brainwash someone to make them feel as if what they're doing is correct, and organized. Some people have gotten out of that mentality and just said, you know what, I'm more organized than the system. I can make the little money that they give me and save it, and everyone else can still be, in debt and spending their money, but I know how to save my own money. But the inauguration has just been a very, very big mix up, and people are confused and they don't know which way to turn, who to believe, and it's reasonable. It's reasonable because I can understand how confusing it is, but this is what we were talking about. This is what I was talking about, and everyone else around you about. People are now starting to wake up and realize who they really are and how much of a dishonest system that was available and that was being used by the people who put their trust in a system that say that they were supported by, because anyone, almost anyone, would believe anything that you tell them once you put fear into their mind that a consequence will happen if they don't follow these certain rules and regulations. um, whenever you whenever you go file your taxes, they ask you, did you vote? Or whenever you file your taxes, they ask you, um, did you file your taxes last year? It's almost like you're fearful of getting your own money back. They will stop you from getting your money or continuing with your tax return if you did not file your taxes the year prior, and things like that. It's almost like, so what are the consequences if I don't file my taxes at all? This is the money that I worked for, and you taxed me, and you told me if I didn't pay my taxes, I was going to have to pay a consequence. And I'm like, where is the money that I worked for then? You might as well just start working for free because they had told you that you owe them for working for them. That's how taxes are. So I just stopped that, and well, I didn't stop filing my taxes, but I just stopped putting my trust into the government, and that is very, very brainwashing. But if you want to brainwash someone with positivity and the honest truth, instead of lies and things that can keep people, distraught and hurt over things that don't resonate with their actual lifestyle. I definitely would not consider anyone putting all their trust and faith in the government, or feeling like, they shouldn't have an input to say about how they feel about certain things if they don't vote, because look how much of a lie that's been told that haven't even been fulfilled. We've been promised about higher pay raise and no one has gotten that. And if you did give us a higher pay raise, we were still taxed and it went back down. So where was the pay raise? I'm like, you guys just confused us and made us believe that we were going to get more pay and we didn't. So I left the workplace, the normal job, because I believe in manifesting my own reality and receiving more income, and just by being my own boss, by being my own supervisor, by being my own manager, I manage myself. And this is why I said you all should get on YouTube, start your YouTube channel, whatever talent or skill that you have, get on there and start, exposing it, because you're going to expose it regardless anyway, but you don't want to just expose it for free and get nothing. You want to expose it for free as an investment and then get paid for it, because you have skills that are going to enable your finances to rise up higher. And that is something that should not be wasted. So you ask me, it's really funny to see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, taking the lead now, and Donald Trump is no longer around. They have more input and control over your life if you let it. You control your own life. And there's so many people that walk these streets every day who haven't paid taxes in years, who don't even go to work a normal job. They make their money on the side doing something else completely different, and it's more than what a, a tax-paying job would give you. So once you've managed that, like, go online and create an Etsy shop and sell your own clothing or something like that, and make tons of money overnight, while you're sleeping. Get the rest that your body needs. But I wouldn't dare spend more time on a system that doesn't spend more time on you, because you can really waste your entire day working for a system by draining yourself and your energy and get very little pay, when you could use that time to invest in something that's going to make you feel like you want to go out there and start moving. But you should start moving within your own space and be in the right space, because then your energy won't be draining you. Your energy will be enhancing more energy within its own energy, because it's not being mishandled. It's not being, you know, misused or improperly used the wrong way. It's not. So I would definitely look forward to doing that. Um, but I thought it was just so confusing. The inauguration, it was just very confusing. I just don't, see how I can, continue to vote or put my own input into things that don't even fulfill its honesty, because it's just been all over the place. It's like, who's going to put their trust in the government now? And they've seen Donald Trump do what he's done. Or who's going to put their trust in the government now? They've seen how many times the routines have changed within, the political status of being, um, in office or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't dare put all of my trust in that ever again. So I did leave. I left about probably 12 years ago. I left about 12 years ago. Just the political idea of, wanting to vote. I just stopped. Now I paid my taxes, yeah, because it's almost like, oh, we're going to get you for tax fraud or tax invasion if you don't pay your taxes. I'm like, I worked for that money. I can't believe you're taxing me for something that I worked for. So that is it. I want you all to know that, it is confusing. I do know why it's confusing, and I've lived through it. And I stepped away from putting my vote inside of the political factor, because it is obligated to control a group of people who feel as if that system that they're being controlled by is going to have a better relation within their lifestyle when it comes to living in freedom. And that is absolutely wrong. I feel as if your freedom will start the moment you start to believe in how much you're able to do for yourself. Now, in the 70s and in the 80s and in the 90s, people were still stepping away from the system. But more people were more in fear than ever now in 2021, because people are now starting to wake up, and the people who were strongly in the Confederate system, more people were in fear. They went to work. They paid their taxes. They voted more often than people do now. So I wouldn't dare put my trust into a system. And it's okay, because don't beat yourself up, because I put my trust into a system. I put all of my trust into a system. And now, but even though I put a lot of my trust into myself, but I put more trust into the system by fearing that, a consequence would happen if I don't abide by them. But I was already the type of person who was already going to abide by them by going to school, finishing my schoolwork, doing my ELG test, my ELC, my integrate course test, going to college, working, paying my taxes, paying my rent on time, trying to keep my credit score down and stuff like that. Like that was just like complete control. Um, and I decided to escape by not allowing them to control me. And I don't want the system to control you. So it is okay to step away from a system that was designed to get us to organize ourselves within their own priorities. And now, because it's 2021, the pandemic was here in the beginning of 2019, and the early stages of 2020, it really started hit the economy and develop. People were starting to leave from certain corporations, like the owners and things like that. People who were really surrounding their business within a confederate structured system, they were the ones stepping down from their office because they're like, oh crap, it's a pandemic. um People are starting to wake up. Right when the pandemic hit, people had began to opening up their eyes and see that the people who were well the people who were influenced the most, the people who were structuralizing these events, like gaining money and trying to, chastise people for not paying this or not paying that. But that was a confederate structured system, and it got people to live in poverty because they say that, well, you owe this company and this business. Well, guess what? This business is not in service anymore. It's a pandemic. The whole business is closed down. I'm like, what? What are we going to do? Well, you weren't doing the right thing anyway. You were following a structured system that was allowing people to suffer. And now, because there's a pandemic and that business is no longer standing because everything is shut down, you have no choice but to go home. They stepped down and they never returned. And so I feel as if it took for a pandemic to get people to understand and to wake up that, this is not this system is not designed for us. There's a lot of companies, a lot of businesses that are still structured around a confederate system. And this is why we now have more black owned businesses, because they are not built around a confederate system. They are built around a gospelized system. And we needed a gospelized system from the very beginning, which the government should have been based on a gospelized system from the jump. But they figured that they can take out the gospel and put their own confederate laws in that will stimulate and regulate the economy more better. But we all know but that once you take the gospel out of anything, you're going to have a reckoning somewhere if you don't have that from within. And everyone don't have the gospel from within, but now they do, because they took the confederate laws out, and now people are starting to realize that, hey, I can own my own business, or I don't have to go to work and work for the confederate 9 to 5 anymore, and waste my entire day staying on my feet when I can just stay at home and gain my health back and get more rest, the rest that my body needs, the rest that God wants me to have. And I'm not repeating the same tiring process every day at work. That was a confederate system. And now people are starting to actually wake up and realize that they are the ones that can make a difference, not the system. And people were making a difference before this pandemic, of course, because there were some successful people who were abiding by their own laws and not the confederate system laws. And now things are a whole lot more better. So that is the confusion, and I can see why people are confused about, the inauguration and the presidential elections, and what's between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's all funny and confusing, and then it's kind of not funny for certain people who had no idea what was going on, but they're upset because they feel betrayed, and they've been betrayed all along. And some people are upset because they felt like someone had kept this secret from them and just now told them, and now they feel stupid for voting, or they feel like, you know, misused, and the whole time they were already being misused. And then some people are like, well, why didn't you tell me that, this type of stuff was going on? Well, you can either get mad at the person who's giving you the information, or you can get mad at the Confederate system. But just know this: we can't get mad at anyone, because the Confederate system was designed by people who are no longer living here. Just think about that. So some of us had left, but some of us are operating from a Confederate system, from people who don't even live. They're not even living anymore. So it's almost like, wait a minute, are we supporting a ghost? Yeah, you're supporting a ghost, and we are the only ones alive. So that means that we can get reparations. Okay, we can get reparations because the people who were against it are no longer living. Now, some people that are living are against the reparations. We have to let them know that they are following behind a Confederate system from people who are no longer living. And some of them do know, they just don't care, because there's so much intact between, just believing and want to keep that structure, but that's not going to help a gospelized community. You can't take God out of things. So, see you guys. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll post another video. I'll try to do one a day, but I'll probably post 5, especially right now. So, see you guys later. Take care. Bye.